My mother once locked me on the porch during a snowstorm, smiling as I shivered in school clothes. I stayed silent then. She called it character building. Now, years later, she's the one shivering in a cold rehab room I chose. The nurses logged her temperature at 96. Just enough to raise flags, not enough to prove abuse. She taught me the system. I learned how to use it. I turned 7 on the porch, frost crawling across the windows as I lay on a threadbare mat. She called it discipline. I called it survival. Paul, my older brother, worked the night shift and never saw. That porch wasn't just cold, it was training. I learned stillness so my teeth wouldn't chatter when I got inside. My fingers barely moved. She'd smile like nothing happened. Builds resilience, she'd say, wrapping herself in my favorite blanket. School was the only warm place. I clung to the radiator before class until a teacher told me to stop. I lied, said I liked the hum. Paul dropped me off in a rush. Always late. He never noticed my Kodel's arms or cracked lips. Mom said I was dramatic. Thin skin. She mocked. I started memorizing regulations from library books, minimum heating, mandatory blankets. That knowledge became my armor. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was preparing. In college, I interned at Fairhaven Adult Care. The director once scolded me for over-documenting. You don't need to write a novel on every temperature check. She laughed, but I did. I remembered what 96 felt like. Every note, every regulation I mastered was a weapon in waiting. Paul sent Christmas cards now, never asked about the past. Mom mailed birthday texts, pretending nothing happened. That silence that we're writing lit something under my ribs. I didn't want revenge, I wanted control. When I got hired full-time at Frost Pines, I knew exactly which wing to work. East wing, draft events, patchy heat, always within legal limits. I didn't have to push, I just had to wait. Mom slipped, fractured her hip. Paul called me crying. She needs help, Sid. I offered Frost Pines. He thanked me. That irony burned deeper than any frost. She arrived wrapped in my childhood's blueprint. Her eyes scanned the thermostat, the crack seal. She remembered. She said nothing. On day 3, she asked for another blanket. I smiled, documented her vitals, and explained facility policy. You're warm enough, I said. Regulation minimum 68. Her room held at 68.3. She wasn't fragile. She was resourceful. She looked at me the way she used to when testing boundaries. Proud. Almost. Paul visited the next day. Brought her cocoa. She raved about the care. Sydney's a real professional, she said. I nodded. We both knew the truth, but she chose to perform gratitude. One night I reviewed her chart. She'd requested warmer meals twice. I approved one. The second I denied due to dietary compliance. Technically true. My supervisor glanced at the note, raised a brow, then moved on. The system was designed to be interpreted. I'd learned that from her. Paul called me. She says she's cold a lot. Everything okay? I said yes. He believed me. That's how gaslighting works. Subtle, repeatable, almost invisible, until you believe it's mercy, until you forget to question. She confronted me outside the nurse's station. You picked this wing for a reason. Her voice was low. Even, I didn't flinch. It's the only one available, I replied. Her smile cracked. You remember everything, don't you? I nodded. And you taught me everything. At that landed. She stepped back, shivering. Paul arrived, then flowers in hand. She brightened. So cold here. She told him, eyes locked on mine. My pulse didn't quicken. I just filed the chart and walked away. I couldn't finish the whole story in this short. The full story is on my channel and link below.